Hello and welcome back to JD's Science Prep. Today we will be looking at naming ionic compounds. So I'm just going to give you a short introduction and then we will get into some examples. So I just have written down ionic compounds occur when a metal or a cation, so a cation is a positively charged ion, and a non-metal or an anion. So an anion is a negatively charged ion. And an ionic compound occurs when these two types of ions combine. So in order to name these compounds, we must take the two ions that are bonding into consideration. So the cation, or the positively charged ion, will always be named first, while the anion will be named second. Some cations can have more than one charge, so if we come across an example with that, we can distinguish which one is being used by using Roman numerals. So let's get into some examples here. Let's try and make some sense. So if we look at example number 1, we have NaCl. Now we must break down NaCl into its ions. So the first one we have is Na. This is going to be our cation. And Na plus has a 1 plus charge. So the second ion that's going to make up NaCl is Cl negative. So let me just write that down really quick. We have Cl negative. Okay, so if you take a look at my other video where we're taking the names of ionic compounds and creating the chemical formula, you're going to understand how our charges are swapped when we are looking at two different ions, but I will let you look at that video on your own time. So if we scroll down to the ions being used in this video, we can see that Na plus is being used in this first example, and the name of Na plus is sodium. I'll give it a little underline for you. And the second ion that is being used is Cl negative, and the name of that is chloride. Okay, so remember in that introduction to this video, we must name the cation first. So we must name sodium first. And I'll put a little number 1 here. There we go. So this will be first. And chloride, because it's the anion, will be second. So let's finish up this. We have sodium or Na plus, and we have chloride or Cl negative. So the name of NaCl is sodium chloride. So I'll write that down. Sodium chloride. Perfect. First example is done. Let's move on to number 2. The second example, we have Ca as our first ion, and the second part of our ionic compound is SO4. So let's scroll down to our list and take a look at what is being used. So the first ion that's being used here is our cation of calcium 2 plus. So Ca2 plus, the name of that is calcium. Calcium will have a 2 plus charge when in ionic form. And our second ion, our anion, is sulfate. Now the name of, the chemical formula for sulfate is just SO4 2 minus. So we know that again, our cation is going to be named first. So we'll just draw a quick arrow. Number 1, and finally our anion will be named second. So let's scroll up and finish up our second example. So again, we have Ca, which is calcium. So it's calcium. And SO4, we said that the name of that was sulfate. So this will just be calcium sulfate. Okay. Let's go on to our third example here. This is a little bit of a trickier one. Let's take a look. So we have lead. We have Pb, which is lead. We also have NO3, which is nitrate. Now, there's one thing I have not squared off yet, and this is this pesky 2 to the bottom right of nitrate. So what this 2 means is that this lead has a +2 charge, so we know that we are using lead 2+. So I just want to make this very clear, and that lead is one of those multivalent ions. Okay, so it can have more than one charge, more than one possible charge. From that 2, I'll just scroll up again to show you, from this 2, this means that this lead again has that 2+ charge, so we know that the lead being used in this example is lead 2+, okay, or Pb2+. I guess it'll be lead 2. All right, and our second ion being used in this example is NO3 negative, and that will be nitrate. So remember, when we have to differentiate between which charge on the cation that's being used, we must use these Roman numerals. I'll draw a quick arrow to show you. We're going to use these when naming this ionic compound. So, because we are using lead 2, we will write lead, and then in Roman numerals, 2, and we'll finish off with our anion, which is just nitrate, right? Okay, we have one more example left. So we have Cu3PO4 2. All right, so let's take a look at our ions that make up this compound. So we have copper, Cu, and we also have PO4, which is phosphate. Now again, we have this 2 down here beside the phosphate, and that's going to tell us which copper is being used. So which copper is being used. So again, this 2, because it is a 2, that's going to mean that this copper that is being used in this compound is copper 2, or Cu2+. So the name of Cu2+, I think I already said it, it's just copper 2. So that's going to be the name of our cation. And finally, we have PO4 3-, and the name of that is phosphate. So let's finish up this video. Let's name this compound. We are going to have copper 2 phosphate. So copper 2 phosphate. All right, there is a short introduction to naming ionic compounds. I hope this helped.